Welcome back to another episode of MotoGP Mac, and today we're going to talk about the opening Grand Prix of the season that just happened at the Thai Grand Prix at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. Now, before we get into it, here's how it finished. Marc Marquez won it from Alex Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia, Franco Morbidelli, Aya Agura, Marco Bezzecchi, Johan Zarco, Brad Binder, Enea Bastianini, Fabio Di Gianantonio, Jack Miller, Luca Marini, Fermin Aldegar, Miguel Oliveira, Fabio Quartararo, Maverick Vinales, Alex Rins, Samkit Chantra, and Pedro Acosta was the last one of the main riders across the line. Lorenzo Salvadori was the last rider across the line. Raul Fernandez did retire. I don't think he crashed, but I think he just retired out of the race. And Joan Mir did crash, although I must say it was an impressive performance from the Honda man. Before the crash, he was up into the top 10. So where do we go? Marc has won the opening race of the season for the first time since 2014. And it wasn't as straightforward as it may seem, although, you always had the feeling Marc was going to win this quite comfortably. Lap 7, Marc was in the lead, and all of a sudden he pulled to the side and let Alex pass. Now, this is most likely due to front tire pressure, in my opinion, although it was really weird that in Parc Ferme after the race, Davide Tardazzi went over to Marc and told him keep his mouth shut about what actually happened with the front of the bike. So it is kind of interesting. Maybe there is an issue there, but like saying that while Marc was behind Alex, the Jaws music was on. You knew Marc was always going to pass him in the last lap. He had the pace, you could see, especially with the going into the corners. He was braking deeper, genuinely trying to generate, in my view, tire pressure and temperature. So very interesting, but a dominant weekend for Marc all in all. There was, it was really, really impressive. Alex Marquez, again, really good, solid race weekend out of Alex. He had the better of Pecco, genuinely on pace, and he used it and maximized it. When Marc let him pass, or when Marc let Alex pass, maybe thought for a second Marc was in serious trouble, but then after a lap or so, you knew Marc was going to pass any time. Pecco really struggled this weekend on pace, and like today he used the soft tire. Yesterday he used the hard tire. He didn't really like the soft tire, but because the others were running it, he had to go with it, so he wasn't that comfortable. And you could see at the start of the race, nearly lost the front on a change of direction, and I think that spooked Pecco. He did keep his distance, not to drive up his tire pressure. Really good race from Franco Morbidelli, I would admit. Did close down Pecco towards the end, but then just didn't have anything else to fight for the last few laps. Also, Aya Agura, look, for me, this is definitely one of the riders of the weekend. What Marc did is brilliant, but Marc has done this before. Aya Agura, first weekend in the championship properly, finished in the top 5 in both races. Hat off to him, and also beat the factory riders home as well. So pretty good race weekend for Aya Agura. Marco Bezzecchi, good session out of him. Much better start than yesterday anyway, for sure. Johan Zarco, again, impressive from Honda. Himself and Mir, I must admit, did a great job this weekend. I know Mir did crash, but I would prefer them to be up in the skinny places and crashing rather than acting around at the back of the grid. You know what I mean? 1 second or 2 seconds a lap off. So, it's good. It's encouraging to see where the Hondas are. Brad Binder, solid. I won't say amazing, but solid. Best KTM home, of course, but again, helped home all the way, and really good battle between them, himself and Enea Bastianini, who had a terrible day yesterday, but had a much better day today. Still 20 seconds behind, but not as slow as yesterday. The gap, if it was yesterday, would be out around 50-60 seconds. So well done to Enea on getting that Fabio Di Giannantonio retired yesterday due to actually the heat of the bike. So interesting that he did last today. Now the weather wasn't as hot, thankfully, but again, top 10. The other GP 25s are in first and third, so a little bit of work to do. But again, saying that, he does have that injury still. Jack Miller, again, really impressed with Jack. Top Yamaha home. He was in the skinny places, and does tend to fall back, but that's natural for Jack. But again, it was a good ride from Jack. Good ride also from Luca Marini. This is where I thought the Hondas would actually be. So just shows the job that Mir and Zarco are doing are really good. Luca needs to pick up the pace a small bit. It's not his first year on Honda anymore. Fermin Aldeguer, good session for him and good weekend overall. This is kind of the places where you would think a rookie is. Getting into the top 10 would be phenomenal. So he has done pretty well. Miguel Oliveira and Fabio Quartararo, kind of shocked to see both of them back there. I would have thought, okay, maybe with Miguel you would see it, but Fabio also struggled, and it just didn't look on it. Maverick Vinales, I really don't know what was going on with him. At one point he was battling for 18th place with Samkit Chantra, did come up through the field, but I think that was more Alex Rins fading than anything else. Rins struggling on the Yamaha, and not sure why, but I will find out on that. Samkit Chantra, look, it's solid enough. You can't, in 26 laps or whatever it was, 31 seconds behind, not too far behind, not too shabby, encouraging for the young rookie. Pedro Acosta was, how would I suppose say, he crashed again, something that he talked about eliminating, and needs to get more, I suppose, more consistent. And he's going to struggle this year with the KTM. We can see already that the KTMs are a little bit off. They are midfield team now again. They're not next best. So it will be interesting to see how Acosta handles that. Lorenzo Savadori, test rider, not a bad session out of him. Do you know what I mean? 46 seconds behind Mark. Overall, I'd be pretty happy with that. Raul Fernandez, I will call out to say that he was doing well. I think he was 1 or 2 places behind Aya Agura, and then he did retire. But still, the rookie has come in and blown the doors off him. If this happens again, then I think it's definitely ejection seat for Raul Fernandez at the end of the season. And Joan Mir, as I said, was doing really well. I think he was in the skinny places again towards the front, and he did crash out. So all in all, look, not a bad weekend for Mir. I would prefer to be crashing towards the front than finishing last. All in all, though, I thought it was a great race weekend. Sometimes the racing wasn't as exciting as we had hoped, but look, those are the breaks. Interesting to see that Mark has scored the first shot across Pecco's bow. Pecco didn't have anything this weekend to answer Mark, and there's weekends where that happens, and maybe this is part of where Pecco is maturing, whereas the old Pecco would have tried to push to try and catch them towards the end, especially towards the end of today's race, where he just took his points and moved on. But I would definitely love to know your thoughts. What do you think of the racing this weekend, and who was your overall rider of the weekend? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video.